Hey everyone, Jonathan from Go Reminders here, and I want to talk about the sneak attack no-show. This is someone who shows up to a first appointment, whether that's in person or a call, and then there's a follow-up appointment. That might be a call with someone else. That might be a meeting in person. It might be a call to review after they've thought about something, and they don't show up for that. So they totally ghost at that point. They show up for the first call, maybe it's an intro call, and then there's a follow-up call scheduled. They're on board, they schedule that follow-up call, and then they just don't show up. So, it's after that, often it's really hard to get in touch with them, can't get any response, maybe because they're embarrassed, maybe because they're uninterested, but since you can't get a response, it's hard to know if you're trying to get the response after they've no-showed, and it leads to just a lot of wasted time. Now, what I want to teach you today will lead you to a point where you have a greatly increased show-up rate. So people are showing up. You're getting feedback from people throughout the process because they're showing up. You're able to talk to them. You're able to get feedback on how the first appointment or call went, and your schedule is filled rather than having these unexpected gaps. So, this came up for the first time for me when I was talking a while ago to one of our customers who's an insurance agent, and they told us that their intro calls were great, but the follow-up calls to choose things about the policies and to basically get to the next step of closing the deal, people would no-show, and they were super confused because they didn't need to remind people for that first call, for the intro call. Everyone was showing up. And so they really only encountered this no-show problem at a later stage. So it didn't occur to them at first to, that reminders would solve this. They thought maybe, it's just something else. But reminders and confirmation completely solved this for them. Anyone who had to cancel, they knew ahead of time, and otherwise people actually showed up. So the framework I want to teach you for solving this problem for yourself is, number one, automate reminders. So if you automate reminders, regardless of where in your business people are not showing up with it, it's the first appointment or the second appointment or any other aspect, and it could be that some people no-show for certain types of appointments, others for others. If you're automating reminders, you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to think, okay, this person needs a reminder, that person doesn't. Oh, let me follow up more with this person or this kind of appointment. It just takes care of it. The second thing is to automate confirmations, because if you're just automating reminders, the confirmations is a crucial component that can really, reminders might take care of a good portion of your no-shows, but there's still other no-shows that are going to exist if you're not asking for confirmation. So if you can automate the confirmations, you're not spending any time on it yourself. It's automatically in the reminder asking people, reply C to confirm, click this button to confirm, things like that, and a system can track it, then it's taken care of for you. And then the last step of this framework is to integrate with your calendar, because if you can integrate with your main calendar, then you don't have to go to multiple systems to see, did people confirm, did people not. On your calendar, you should be able to see who did or didn't confirm, and then you can follow up with the people who didn't confirm, which are going to be a very small portion, but you'll know that ahead of time, and you'll be able to fill that slot if people do not confirm. And that is a major component. It's not just getting people to show up, it's also finding out who's not going to show up ahead of time rather than at the time when you're looking at your watch. So, there's this myth that certain people perpetuate about how no-shows are just unavoidable. And, sure, it can't solve 100% of no-shows, but in so many instances, no-shows are avoidable, and you can either get them to show up or find out ahead of time that they're not going to show up, and then figure out how else to work on them to a customer, a prospect, or a patient to motivate them to show up, or to fill that slot with someone else who actually wants to show up. So just to recap, this is a particularly tricky situation of no-shows where someone seems engaged for a first appointment and then they totally ghost for the second appointment, and it leads to wasted time. You can't figure out why they're not showing up. And if you implement this framework, the results that you will get is just people are going to show up. You're going to be able to talk to them and get feedback on your original calls from them because you're going to be in touch with them. It's much easier to get in touch with them if you can maintain the communication rather than letting it lapse with a no-show and then trying to get in touch. And your schedule will be filled. So the steps of those frameworks are basically to automate reminders, automate confirmations, and integrate it with your main calendar so you have one source of truth for yourself. So if this was interesting to you, leave a comment. If you have any questions or comments, any feedback for me, I would love to hear from you. And definitely check out our free guide to maximizing your show up rate. It is 5 critical yet simple steps that you can take right now to get people to show up for your first meeting, for your second meeting, for every meeting, whether that's a virtual Zoom meeting, in person, you're going to them, they're coming to you. Any of that stuff, anything you want to remind people about, you can automate it with Go Reminders and without Go Reminders if you follow this guide. I'll talk to you soon. Take it easy.